Welcome to Fun in the Afternoon with the Capital Investment Committee. Sorry we're late on the air. This is the meeting for February 22nd. Item number 1 on the agenda is consideration of approval of minutes from January 25th, 2018.
Move for approval.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 2, presentation of proposed pavement marking plan for Hillsborough Road.
What we are proposing today, I wanted to show you, is what we're proposing as a change from the original pavement marking plan as the plans were originally bid to what we're doing now based on the changes we've done during construction. So the widening north of Claude Yates. We think we have an opportunity here. And actually, if you can open up the first, yeah, let's do the first one first, and I'll kind of walk you through where we originally were and what we're proposing. This is a little tougher to walk through because it's all one sheet, but the original plans are, the typical section for Hillsborough Road is 3 lanes. So you've got 1 through lane each direction, and you had center 2-way left turn lane. We were also adding additional right turn lanes pretty much along the entire length of the school at Joel Cheek and into Claude Yates. What we discovered as we made the change to widen the roadway north so that TDOT didn't have to dig the curb and gutter and sidewalk we had just placed up, and y'all let us go ahead and widen that out a little bit further. We actually have the room to actually add a second northbound lane as it's striped today in the interim all the way up to Mac Hatcher. Well, when we went back and looked at that to make sure we were tying back into what we're doing now, it actually makes sense because the pavement is already there, the curb and gutter is already there, and as my second exhibit shows, we can actually get a continuous northbound lane, so you'll have 2 northbound lanes from Joel Cheek all the way to Mac Hatcher. There's really no need for the dedicated right turn lanes there because we had a dedicated right turn, and as we zoom in, we'll just start at the bottom and go north.
Okay.
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay, there you go. Wow. So coming up, the original intent there or the original design at Joel Cheek was to have a single left turn lane, a single through heading northbound, and a dedicated right turn lane into Joel Cheek. And as you headed north, there was a dedicated, right there at the intersection that was actually gored out, so there was only 1 lane headed north there, but the pavement and curb and gutter were already there. As you headed north, there was a right turn lane originally designed to go into that small parking lot in front of the school.
All right, pause, Paul. Go back for a second. Just to make sure for everybody at home, Joel Cheek is where you turn left to go into Orleans Estates and right into Chestnut Bend?
That's correct.
Okay. Right before the high school.
That's correct. And as you head north, we added a dedicated right turn lane in front of the entire school for school traffic to get into Claude Yates Drive. As we made these changes and looked back at it further, we were already building the pavement and the curb and gutter to support a continuous through lane all the way through the project. We were just simply striping it out in certain sections to create those dedicated turn lanes. It makes more sense from a capacity standpoint to just go ahead and get rid of those dedicated lanes and make a shared through and right turn lane. So that's basically what we're proposing to do today. And there's no additional construction required with this. It's simply just striping it out differently than when we originally proposed.
So since this is a presentation, we're not really looking for a vote. What I just wanted to say while we're here, as you get to Mac Hatcher, because prior to Hillsborough Road improvements, when you came down Mac Hatcher to turn right to hit Hillsborough Road, it was a yield, but that left lane was the only thing that was coming in because there was no continued
Correct.
2 lanes through Mac Hatcher.
Correct.
And I don't know how hard it would be, but I think it would be great to have some kind of temporary signage there for the people who are coming off Mac Hatcher, because they may just start zooming in old
Yes.
school and not realize, oh crap, there's a car that can come now because there's 2 open lanes.
And what we will do is totally upgrade that, well, I say totally upgrade, we're gonna upgrade the signage and the striping at that turn lane, so you'll have a yield bar there. People will know they have to yield at that point. There's some additional striping changes and signage changes we'll make in the area to make people very aware of that.
I just think if we could have something that's more like a beacon, because it's kind of like when we did the 4-way stops on Bridge Street. when you're in the habit of doing something for
Sure,
years,
you just run through it.
and then all of a sudden, I've had a wreck there. It was during my divorce years ago, but I just say it freaks me out. And I just think when you've got a traffic pattern that's been in existence for that long, it just, to me, it begs for an accident to happen. So
Yeah.
even for a minute, if we could have something that says, you know,
And what we'll probably do there, assuming it's available, and if it's not available, we can always rent one, is do a message board ahead of
That'd be
time to tell
great.
people coming down Machatcher that, hey, the traffic pattern's changed. That's typically something we do with a major change like this.
that would be
All
great.
right,
But-
now, Jonathan, as you're going north in front of the high school, is there a turn onto Rebel Circle? On here?
As you're headed north.
As you're going north on Hillsborough Road, and you wanna go left on Rebel Circle, see, there, all those lanes, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Where you used to couldn't turn left.
Yes,
the
we-
left.
we're
There's
not
the left.
modifying the dedicated left turn lane. The left turn lane is still there.
Okay, it
we-
just
we are
didn't show
simply-
on here.
Yes, we're simply modifying the striping to the right of the main line.
I'm thinking about the other end of Rebel Circle
that's
that
the
comes
other
out.
On the north side.
Yeah.
Talking about this way?
No, I'm talking about this way down here.
Oh. I'm not sure
Wait
where
a
you
second,
are.
wait a second, wait a
Where
second.
are you?
Yeah, the left turns will remain into the
Rebel
Rebel
Circle.
Circle.
No, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm at the wrong end.
Yeah.
Got you.
Claude Gates will be signalized as long as well as Joel Cheek. We just wanted to make you aware of this change because it
All
is
right.
different than what the original plan showed.
Okay, let me go talk about this right down here. I don't know where this is. Claude Yates. There is a turn lane, and it's got an arrow going this way and an arrow going this way, Joe. Can't we do that on, you've got it right here.
You're talking about, yeah, you're
I'm
talking
talking about
about,
right here.
yeah, she's talking about those
I'm
two.
talking about right here.
Go, move that up.
Margaret, it went away.
She's talking about these two arrows, you see them
Yes.
over here? She's talking about that.
So you're talking about in the center turn lane where we have
Yeah.
a two-way left turn?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
in this case, you can't do that, and the reason we have the two-way left turn lane here is because it's not a dedicated left turn lane going across from Claude Yates. There's no reason to have a
On the
left
other
turn
side.
there. That's why we left that as a two-way left turn lane.
There's no left turn. But you left it that way.
Well,
What good does that?
if it's to turn left on here and here, I don't know what makes it a dedicated.
Well, it's a dedicated, and the difference from what the example you're bringing up from is Lancaster Drive and Old Liberty Pike for folks not at home, or folks at home, not.
Yeah.
That's actually a four-legged intersection, so you have dedicated left turn lanes for all the movements. Because those are dedicated left turn lanes, they can't be combined turn lanes, because you have a signal there that actually has the dedication for those left turn lanes. That's the difference here. This is a three-legged intersection, and the direction we're talking about. We basically, one thing I can do here is, I can stripe it out and gore the area out, but there's really no sense in me striping it out. It
No.
doesn't hurt anything here.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that other
Sure.
later. Okay.
So, back up to Matt Catcher.
Okay?
So, the right-hand turn that goes to Matt Catcher, if I'm in a car and I'm not quite to that right-hand turn, how many cars are stacked in that northbound lane, those northbound lanes, to prevent me from getting over to the right?
It'll really depend on the time of day. If you have a lot of cars heading north, you will have a backup there.
Why didn't we fix this better?
Because that's gonna be fixed
It'll
with
be
the
fixed with
Mac Hatcher.
Machatcher.
Oh, that is going to be?
Yes,
It'll be fixed with
Machatcher has
Machatcher.
dedicated
That's
lanes.
right. We
That
did-
section will go from 5 lanes
That's
to, I
right.
believe, 7
Sorry,
lanes.
I do remember that.
So where our sidewalk ends on this exhibit is basically where our project truly stops.
Right,
And
so
that's right.
they're gonna come, I forgot about that.
But honestly, having the
Totally
two
forgot.
northbound through lanes getting you through the intersection is gonna move a lot more traffic than what was originally proposed
Mm-hmm.
at this intersection in the interim.
Okay,
And I was also able to move the
good.
taper further down to the south, so you actually get 2 lanes going through
Mm-hmm.
the intersection, and then you taper down after the intersection.
so all that in the middle that's striped out, yellow?
Yes, it's just extra space.
What's gonna happen to that when we do
The
Mac
future
Hatcher?
turn lanes through
Those are
lanes
all
with
gonna
Mac Hatcher
be-
will all be utilized.
They'll be utilized, okay,
Yes.
just wanna know, okay, great.
All right,
thanks.
so we don't need to vote on this because it's a
No, just to make you
presentation.
aware.
All right,
All right, everybody good?
Yeah.
All right, item number 3, discussion concerning the West Main Street pedestrian improvements project.
So we had talked about this one last time, and the big problem is if we pull up the aerial exhibit showing it is, there's some water and sanitary sewer south of the existing bridge. And when we look to try to widen that bridge, what seems like a relatively small and simple project turned into a very large, big project of around $3 million because you get into having to move water and sewer and putting in storm drainage and curb, and the board wanted us to take a step back and look at other options. So we did take a step back, we looked at it, to simply unofficially provide a crossing for pedestrians. What we could do is go in there and expand the box culvert on the north side only. You cannot do it on the south side because of utility conflicts. You could expand it on the north side and basically put a 10 or 12-foot shoulder on there that would accommodate pedestrians, but it doesn't necessarily connect you to any type of sidewalk. But it does allow pedestrians to be able to cross and walk on the shoulder if they so
It
choose to.
connects you to the storm gutter.
Yes, it'll basically put you out into the grass area, but we could do a project of that nature for around $250,000. There's still utility coordination and right-of-way acquisition needed, permitting, it's a state route, and we gotta permit it over the stream. But for around $250,000, we could widen that bridge to the north, which would put a 10 or 12-foot shoulder on it that would allow pedestrians to walk across the bridge unofficially. It wouldn't be a sidewalk that meets ADA standards, but it does give a shoulder if that's what the board would like to try to further pursue
You
that
could
option.
cross the creek without walking in the lane.
Yes, right.
I'm just trying to save a life, that's all.
No, we understand. And unfortunately, with all the conflicts, the project, if we're to do it with sidewalk standards and doing all the utilities, the cost just ballooned to, I think it was over $3 million.
That's how
Right.
much the Carlisle Lane intersection cost.
Yeah.
Good land. Well, I would like to see us just do that. It may not be the very best thing, but that's all that those
Better.
neighbors want,
Better.
is to get across that bridge.
I will tell you, within the next handful of years, and I don't have a specific date, there will be likely utility work through there, so that may be a better opportunity to do more complete work in that
10 or
area.
12 years. Well,
No, in a handful of years. I don't know. We're actually.
How soon can we do the 250,000?
My suggestion would be to maybe, it would be a stormwater project because we're going over a stream. I'd say we take a step back and talk with Mark and Eric about the best way to bring that forward, either as a separate resolution project or whether it's something that just gets incorporated in an annual budget. And from that point, we could bring it either to a work session if Mark agrees, or we could give you direction that we're gonna put it in an annual budget to see if you wanna fund it as an enhancement would be an option.
So how long does that take?
It would probably take us all of 8 months to do a design and utility relocations that are needed. There's a pole there, and there may be some right-of-way acquisition or temporary easement acquisition that's needed. So that takes time, but it's something we could probably have bid out in about 8 months from the date funding is allocated.
So how about a motion?
You're good?
I move that we pursue the $250,000 project.
I'll second that, to send it to our
Board.
board for discussion.
All right. First and second, all in favor
Second.
say aye.
Aye.
Passes to the board. Anything else on that?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Item number 4, consideration of amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2014-0209 with CT Consultants, Inc., formerly EG&G, for the preparation of final plans and specifications for the Franklin Road Corridor Improvements Project from the Harpeth River Bridge to Harpeth Industrial Court at a cost increase not to exceed $25,000.
So what this is additional work is meeting with a lot of the where we're at with the project now is we're finalizing utilities, and it's a very complicated job undergrounding all the overhead electric. And meeting with the utilities, they've made some requests for us to relocate some underground services, and it requires some additional survey and utility coordination to be able to do that. This is hopefully the last step to really finalizing the utilities. We still have some work we need to do with the box culverts up towards Franklin Road. But what this does is allows us to finalize that right-of-way set of plans And we're now in the process of, and you'll see these shortly, is getting appraisers on board to start acquiring right away. And we're going to host a public meeting, which we're still scheduling. We'll send letters out to all the property owners and schedule basically a right-of-way acquisition type public meeting where we go over the plans and the right-of-way acquisition process. But this scope of services is specifically for additional survey and utility coordination that has changed over the last year and a half, that we need to pick this up so that we can finalize that right-of-way set of plans and start acquiring property. So we are recommending approval and looking forward to moving this project into the right-of-way phase.
Can I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
All right, any discussion? No? All in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Item number 5, consideration of draft professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract 2018-0019 with Boozer and Company, PC for real estate appraisal, services for the State Route 96 West multi-use trail phases 1 and 2 in the amount not to exceed $88,000.
So this is where we received a grant to build a multi-use trail, basically from where we stopped the last time down into the downtown Franklin area. The total grant amounts around $1.8 million. It all goes to construction of the project. The design plans are done. Our next phase is to start appraising and acquiring that right away. We have been given approval from TDOT local programs essentially to start with the appraisal services. And this is the next phase to getting this project moving forward. With TDOT guidelines require one appraiser to appraise it and a second appraiser to do a review on that. And so the next item on the agenda is for the review appraisals associated with that project. So
You have to have two.
we have to have two. And that's basically to ensure that we're maintaining property owners' rights and offering a minimum of fair market value for property that we're acquiring with the project.
Go on.
If you have two appraisals and you agree and the project goes forward, can the property owner come back at a later time and question that?
So
That's what happened before.
the way that works is we're gonna do two appraisals and we'll offer fair market value. They have a chance to meet with the appraiser. They have a chance to question them. They will get a copy of that appraisal. Sometimes we agree to disagree, but 90% of the time we're settling these with the property owners because we do offer fair market value and we spend a lot of time trying to make sure they understand that and the impacts the project has. Ultimately, if they disagree, we'll come to the board and ask for approval to move into condemnation. Oftentimes, those few that have to go that route, they're friendly in nature, and they will challenge it in a court of laws, how that will get settled, and they can challenge it in court, and that the court will decide on how that plays out.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
So move?
Second?
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Moving on to item number 6. Consideration of professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract 2018-0020 with R. Rhett Turner for real estate appraisal review services for State Route 96 West multi-use trail phases 1 and 2 in the amount not to exceed $61,600.
So this is the scope of services associated with the second appraiser who's gonna do a review of the first one to make sure, again, we're offering fair market value.
I'll move for approval.
Second?
First and second, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, item number 7, consideration of draft amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract 2015-0096 with civil and environmental consultants for the Jordan Branch Spencer Creek Restoration Project in an amount not to exceed $123,850.
So this is a stormwater problem that's been around for many years. The board's agreed to take this project on. We've been through the design, we've been through multiple public meetings, we've actually acquired the necessary easements to do the project. I've gone back and looked at this very critically with our consultants and our city team. What has happened here is early on, we did some coordination with the Army Corps of Engineers. They basically said we needed to go out and do some of these archaeological studies because of the mastodon that was there. And so we went out and did a lot of studies to make sure that we were going to have no impact to the archaeological or features that are out there. What we did not do, and in hindsight we've learned from it, is we didn't go meet with the state of Tennessee archaeologists. The Army Corps, when we were submitting on permits, one of their things they're required to do is go to that state archaeologist and get their approval. They have requested additional work above and beyond what the Army Corps had initially thought. So I feel like we did do our due diligence on it. Unfortunately, this is something that has come up at the last minute. They're basically requiring us to go do additional profiles down the entire stream channel to make sure that there are no other artifacts that we need to be concerned about or to protect, which honestly our plan all along was to have an archaeologist on site during construction to ensure that we didn't encounter anything. We as city staff even went and met with them, and they're still not willing to sign off on the permit until we do this additional work and study. So it's gonna unfortunately result in a delay for us to get this work done. But we have met with our consultants. We're gonna expedite this process by getting another archaeologist out there to do this additional study. And as soon as this is done, they're gonna sign off on the permit, and then we're able to move into a bidding construction phase.
We've talked about this. It's nothing new to me, but how long do you think that process is gonna take for the archaeologists to do this additional study? The hoops that they're making us jump through?
You know, best case scenario, it's gonna take a few months, 3 to 4 months probably, to get the study done, get it back in the state archaeologist's hands and coordinate. You know, at the earliest, we'd be looking probably late summer to early fall to be able to bid this, and then you have a bid timing frame, which puts it towards
So
fall
we-
time frame
we-
to be
yeah.
able to realistically get this project
So we're
bid out.
basically delayed an entire year. And this is just nothing to do with you guys, just beyond my belief that this is why we have such headaches, because, you know, government does these things and we're beholden to them and we can't get out of it. I understand that. But I would say for the last 2 to 3 years, well, I've been working with these people since 12 years ago, but the last 2 to 3 years on this project, I would ask that we just move this ahead and we do not begin any work on it until January. I see Mr. Casey's here too. That we don't do anything, because one thing, I don't want those backyards disrupted during summer, because that's when they enjoy their backyards. The children are out there. We don't want all the heavy equipment and all that happening in the summer. So that's, to me, off the table. Fall is also a good time to enjoy your yard around in Tennessee, so I wouldn't think that we would do it in fall. Then we get into the holidays, and people don't want all the traffic, the mud, the machines in their streets and in their yards around the holidays, because that gets to be a hectic time for people. So we were gonna start it in January of this year, after a delay. So I would suggest that we start it next January, and we aim for that, because that'll allow us to get all this done in due time without any problems about rushing it, and get it to that point, and then we'll talk to the people about it.
If when you do your study, when the archaeologists do their study, how do they do it? Do they go out there and dig up the
Yeah,
ground?
what they'll actually do is go down the stream, the entire length of our project length, about every 20 meters, and they'll actually do scrapings through there, and they'll actually dig down and see if they find anything
Oh,
to the limits of
Well,
disturbance.
It seems to me that if you have an archaeologist on site, to be there when that's being done, that would take,
precedence
I mean,
over
why
it.
do you have to do that whole extra thing?
You're asking the question that we asked them,
And
and
they said
they
no.
have told us that no, they want this done first, because again, if we were to find something, they will tell us, no, you cannot do the project.
Right.
Yeah, well,
The state,
it's giving somebody a job,
The state-
actually, to go in there and do something ahead of time, because Margaret's absolutely right. You would, I think we all would agree that you'd find things better while they're digging it up.
And
the
they
state
still do.
archaeologist's point is
Yeah, they might.
it will be destroyed during construction by the time the archaeologist finds it. That's their point. I'm not saying we agree with that as staff or even our consultant. We were going to take the approach you've just articulated, and we don't think they're gonna
Yeah,
find
right.
anything, honestly.
And
Yeah.
I'll actually go a step
I mean, you
further, and
guys-
as we were keeping this in mind as we designed it, so what our designers did was actually placed fill instead of digging where there might be something. But even that, any sort of impact to the stream is basically, they go through the permitting box, they check that box and say it's an impact to the stream. Once they check that box, they automatically have to go to their partners with permitting, and then that's what triggered the archaeological study.
Thanks for asking them, and thanks for going after that and trying to get it at least. I really appreciate that. But the other thing is, whoever's down there, we need to make sure that our insurance is correct. Can we just double check how that covers the person down there? Because we have trees in that area that literally fall like that. And if they're digging and around those large trees that are just ready to topple over with a good rainstorm, I mean, the last 2 years, we've had trees, one on someone's house and a couple in their backyard. And the HOAs had to pay to get some of those removed. So if someone's out there digging, I'm just a little concerned with what goes on in that, because I've been down in there. You have to get down, you're 12 feet down.
They're panning with small equipment. There's no equipment, hand tools is what the archaeologists are gonna be using.
Yeah,
The
but-
shovel.
Yes,
Basically.
but Paul,
Basically.
you could just be walking there and not doing anything, because a huge limb, when Paul, Lucci and I were down there, just about from here to the door, a huge limb just fell right off of a tree, and the limb was about, the circumference is about this big.
Enough to kill you.
Glad we weren't down there. So I'm
We can do that.
saying you all just check that, because I don't know who's gonna be down there and whose responsibility that
Yeah.
is.
One thing I would like to add is.
Or Miss Ann wants to talk at
With
some
this,
point.
with this
Yeah.
project, just like any project we do, our goal is gonna be to have the project permitted and shovel-ready as soon as we can. We can actually bid the project out as soon as possible and then put a start date, which whatever the board desires on
Here,
that. But we're
January
gonna
1.
get it to, we're gonna get the project shovel-ready and bid out as soon as we can,
If-
just like any project.
If it's ready towards the end of the summer, let's talk to the people over there. If they want it, then you go ahead and do it.
Okay,
Because I'm not like the end all of saying, let's not do it. I just have heard what they've said. And when we decided to do January, they all said, yeah, we agree. We don't want it there in the summer. But they might, what did we say, Steve? Was it 6 months of work? What?
yeah,
Roughly?
roughly
Okay.
6 months. So what
Yeah.
we'll do is, as soon as the project's permitted, we can reach out to the stakeholders and see what their desires are and set a construction start date if that's the board's wish, based on what the residents say.
I've never called you this before, but Alderman Peterson,
Thank you. Whenever the Mastodon was found, that was a major, major find and discovery. And then they found that it is one of very few places where they have found that in connection with human activity, remains and everything. So even though this is really, I know inconvenient, because I remember even about it
Yeah,
for some
sure.
time, that still is not going to be anything that they take lightly, and it shouldn't be. I mean, it's really,
That's what they're there to do.
yeah, that's right.
And
But it-
specifically,
We
what they're
get it.
interested in are any potential encampments that were near that.
Exactly,
site.
because
That's what they've told us.
that was even more unusual and impressive to find that with the remains there. But I
And it
know.
was in Paul's backyard, Mr. Lucci's backyard. Yes.
But isn't it a National Historic Site?
Yeah, in
It is.
his backyard.
well, and like you guys said, lesson learned, so it's one of those,
Yeah.
you know.
I know.
Maybe check. All right, so can I have a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Item number 8, consideration of draft professional services agreement with CDM Smith, City of Franklin Contract 2018-0023 for the reclaimed water system model and master plan update in an amount not to exceed $195,500.
So this is an agreement with CDM to kind of in response to some of the reclaimed water pressures we saw on Berry Farms last year. So there was some pressure and flow issues that we wanted to identify. But this kind of agreement is going to be doing a model to kind of look at our reclaim system as a whole and how we can increase the level of service to our customers by, providing appropriate amount of flow and pressures to operate sprinkler systems and to fill ponds and that sort of stuff. So there's some additional data that we need to gather, and so that'll be kind of the first part of it, and then there'll be some recommendations for capital projects as well.
Margaret,
Do
do you have
we
something to
need
say?
No, do we need a motion on this?
Probably move it to the board, I would imagine.
Okay.
Um,
I so move.
Second.
All right, first and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item number 9, consideration of draft resolution 2018-13, a resolution authorizing condemnation for the acquisition of property for the Holiday Court Pump Station Improvements Project.
So their Holiday Court is, we have a small, older, kind of outdated pump station, a can pump station that's, we've been working to rehab, to redo essentially, to bring it up to
This is off Royal Oaks.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that little cul-de-sac area. And so we've completed the design and are in the easement acquisition process, and this is for the process to start the condemnation. So I'm asking for your approval to start that if we need to move that way.
I move for approval.
Second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 10, consideration of draft professional services agreement with Boozer and Company, City of Franklin contract 2018-0024 for the appraisal services for Holiday Court Pump Station Improvements Project in an amount not to exceed $3,000.
So this is for the appraisals for those two properties on the, one on the corner of Holiday Court and Royal Oaks, where we're gonna need to get an easement, and then on the farther property on the back end that we're actually gonna have to access for construction, and that the pump station is gonna be on, in that grassy area behind it.
Okay, I move for approval.
Second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 12. Instead of us going through, we got 11, sorry. Transportation, stormwater, and parks capital projects. Instead of going through every line item, if you all want to highlight what you got,
Sure.
and if anybody has any questions.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes it becomes like deja vu.
Sure. And then we actually talked about a lot of these projects already through
Yes.
this particular
So,
agenda.
sure.
The one I'll highlight that we didn't talk about would be McEwen Drive Phase 4. We are still waiting on the final cultural resources report back from the state of Tennessee and the Federal Highway Administration. As soon as we get that, we can finalize NEPA. In the meantime, we've also released an RFQ for appraisal services for this to go ahead and get appraisals going as soon as we can.
Okay.
And we'll use that same appraisal consultant to do the appraisals, and we'll do the negotiations for the improvements at the roundabout too. So we'll kind of kill two birds with one stone there. We are working still to finalize the plans, and the thing we're working through right now is we figured out the roadway, we figured out the retaining walls. We're working with the different utilities in the area now. As you can imagine, through that hillside, there's very limited space. So we're trying to make sure that all the utilities are in a future position to be maintainable and easy for us to install and still work the roadway project around the utilities. So what you'll be seeing from us, hopefully at the end of March, is an amendment to the professional services contract with Sullivan Engineering to actually help manage more in depth those utility relocations, to go ahead and get those finalized. Because as soon as we get the utilities finalized, we'll know exactly what our right-of-way and easement limits are, so we can fully acquire right-of-way in those areas.
Why in the world are they gonna put those lines?
It's very complicated, and that's one of the things, we actually had a meeting about it this morning. It's, they're all over, so that's one of the things, we want some additional services out there.
Do you
'cause
put them up? Do you put them down?
Luckily enough, the Middle Tennessee Electric is gonna be above ground, they're gonna be on poles, so those are pretty easy, but we're still dealing with, the gas line that supplies most of Franklin is the 8-inch gas line from, Atmos Gas out there, there's a water line. And so we're dealing with those issues right now, we have a force main in the area as well.
So we're having overhead utilities the whole way?
That's correct, but a lot of them run off the roadway
They're
itself.
gonna be up, aren't they?
That's correct.
They're not gonna be right on our roadway?
No, they won't be.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you have
I
anything?
just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to ask you if the temporary improvements are helping at all.
A lot, huge amount. I think we had a sign that had to be replaced just recently. I don't even know which one it was. They mentioned it a couple times, but Joe was looking into that. But, yeah, and the speed signs we have out there, after we got them fixed again, are amazing. They help, because I travel that road a lot, and I'm going, and people are going pretty fast, and all of a sudden they hit that speed sign, they slow way down. I've seen it over and over and over. So it's very good, especially with the buses running there. But we still have problems with the trucks.
Sure.
We still have
That-
problems with the trucks.
Wait a minute, why?
Because they don't obey the law, and there's no one there to catch them. And we have a police officer over there every now and then, but they can't be there all day, and they can't be there every day, so they go over there maybe for an hour, one day, and then maybe another hour another day, and they'll catch a truck or two. But I will tell you, I have constituents call me constantly. They either call me or email me that I've just got behind a truck, and I had one lady who lives in the Mead of Avalon who was at the circle, the roundabout, and she was going to the Mead of Avalon, and the truck went all the way through, so she followed the truck. And she followed the truck, and he went all the way down Clovercroft to one of the developments in the county, and when he pulled in there, she pulled in there, and she got out and she asked him. She said, I have a question for you. Why did you use McEwen Drive? He said, I always do. She says, did you not see the sign? And he was over the axle limit. He was a big old truck. So, I mean, she said, I know he was over the axle limit. It wasn't just like a dump truck is allowed, and a smaller truck is allowed. So anyway, we still have problems with that. And my big concern is, we've got the school buses over there, and we've got our cars just, because sometimes they go across the line, and that's what happened to that one lady when the truck went across the median. So, we're doing the best we can. You guys have done a great job. And Joe's crew's been out there. And the other problem we have is we have a huge trash problem on that road. Really big trash problem. And so we're constantly trying to get Joe over there to clean it up. You know that, Mark. It just
There's a
never
number
stops.
of areas that seem to be
Like
kind of
roadkill,
hot
we
spots.
talking
Oh,
about?
no,
Like
no,
people
just trash.
Throwing
everywhere.
things out of the window, and
People
so
are-
we're taking a few different avenues to address that, as you know.
Fine.
And actually talked with Joe this morning about
Did you?
certain areas. There's Spencer Creek Road and
Yeah,
McHugh.
that one,
So,
that one's a bad
so
one too.
we're stepping back and taking a look and seeing how we can better address that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
And we've got some people over there that said, we get out there and help clean it up, but we're not gonna go on McEwen, because they can't. They would go down Cool Springs. And we've got some people over there that walk on a regular basis who you'll see with the trash bag, and they pick stuff up. And I see one walker, a guy, he wears gloves all the time, and he walks up and down, picks trash up all the time. And it's one of his community services.
But you can't walk on that road.
No, I'm talking like when he walks on Cool Springs or
Oh.
the other part of McEwen.
right.
But on that road, you can't, and that's our big deal, our big problem over there.
So anything else to highlight?
The big one, the big one I would highlight for the park side is
Oh, can I ask you about this? Yeah, I have another question on McEwen.
Sure.
Okay. Question. Somebody asked me this, and I did not know it the other day, but when the 4 lanes get put in, I know we have our multimodal trail next to it. Do we also have a striped bike lane on that road?
No. No.
Okay.
It is just the multi-use trail on the south side.
Because the bikers are not happy with that. They've let me know that.
There will be
I mean, these are the bikers that can't use the multi-use trail.
this will be a very wide multi-use trail, and actually Old McEwen Drive, we're relocating McEwen for the most part. We're gonna use a good portion of Old McEwen as the bike trail, so it'll be a nice bike trail when it's all said and done.
Can it be striped to keep the bikers separate?
Sure. Can
Because
be.
that's what they were telling me. The fellas and gals that go out and ride the bikes, you see them all outfitted and they're out riding 40 miles a day or whatever. They don't use those multimodal trails because they said we'll hurt people because we're going way too fast. And they will use the road. But I'm thinking bikers, we've seen that over in Carmel, Indiana. I'm thinking California. California might have it too, but Carmel had it where they had them specifically, blocked off for a bike lane. And people were so used to it when it was put out, they got used to it. So when they told us when we walked down, they said, don't walk in that lane. People don't walk in that lane because they know they'll,
Yeah, that's something that can
it's
easily be
like
done
the
during
road,
construction.
yeah. Okay, and the other thing is, what's the next step? Where are we in the process of getting the 2 right turn lanes?
We just,
By the
you just
roundabout.
approved this at the
What's
previous
that? Can you
vote.
clarify? 'Cause
That's
I don't
by the
know anything about-
roundabout. We've got,
At the previous committee meeting, you recommended approval of the
Right.
lighting PSA. That has gone through board now. As soon as they finalize the lighting, and we know we don't have to acquire any additional easements,
Right.
we'll get this appraiser on board for McEwen 4. He'll do the appraisals for this. We'll acquire the right of way, and while he's doing that, we'll do the finalized construction plans. We're still on track to bid that project this year.
and then we can get started next year to build that,
Yes,
those turn lanes.
yes.
See, when you get to the roundabout, I just want to make sure y'all know that, when you get to the roundabout, if you're coming off the interstate and you're going like towards Wilson Pike and you get to that roundabout, the fire station would be on your left.
Yeah.
Okay, there's gonna be a right-hand turn lane going up the hill
Oxford.
on Oxford Glen. And then when you're coming west from Wilson Pike, there'll be a dedicated right-hand turn lane that goes on Cool Springs.
Okay.
Correct.
Huge help, because those are the two directions that we just gotta move the traffic.
And I'm sure Jimmy Wiseman has those lights right in the back of his car that he's
That's
gonna
right.
install right after when he finishes West Haven.
There you go.
Margaret, do you have anything on
I
the
don't have
streets?
Good park.
I want to, while we're here, and I say it often enough, I hope it's remembered. But when we talk about the widening of Columbia Avenue, I know we're waiting for the utilities and sidewalks.
Yes.
I'm not, even though I voted and we approved the 5-lane, the shared access and all that, the plan for me was not, it was the 5 lanes, not everything that came along with that plan.
No,
So,
you haven't voted
I
on
just
anything
don't want
of
anybody to
that.
be surprised when I start going, no, I don't like
No,
this.
you-
Not
you-
that
You've only basically, the decision you gave us was curb and gutter to curb and gutter. You gave us the 5-lane section. That's
Gotcha.
what you gave us.
Okay, I just, because it doesn't say, it just talks about the utilities and bicycle and pedestrian, so I want to make sure the access is still something we're going to be able to
Yes.
talk
Those,
about.
those are the next ones we'll bring you.
Okay. Anything under stormwater?
We've covered the main,
All right.
How about
and-
that, how about the Mallory Lane in Liberty? What's our next move here?
they have,
Design.
they've sent us, initial plans. We've commented on those. They've sent us revised plans. We'll review the revised plans. And we have a few changes we want to make to that to kind of limit some of the impacts there, because it's going to be a pretty sizable right-of-way and construction
Yeah.
job there to get all the language we need in. And then we'll move into right-of-way, because the board has funded that project through right-of-way.
Are we
I'm
go-
really glad we're on top of that because it's starting to get,
Oh,
I see it
it's-
because I live right there.
yeah,
It's starting to
you
get a little
do.
bit harder to get
A-
out.
As we discuss the future capital projects, we will probably ask for this one to be funded through construction, because we'll be under right-of-way by that point.
So when are you going to go after right away?
Well, we'll have to do a check-in with the board, basically to go over the design, to make
Right.
sure the board's happy with the design.
Mhm.
Hopefully, at the same meeting or a meeting after, you'll fund the appraisal services, and then we could be done with the right-of-way easily within a year
All right.
of,
There's really only
of
4
that.
properties right there.
that's
There
that's
are.
it.
We've got to
That's
move
it.
ahead, and one is the school.
The only difficulty with those properties, they are commercial properties, so a lot of times lien holders won't sign off, and you end up having to go to condemnation,
Because
so.
from looking at it, there's a lot of room to
There are.
take.
But once
so
you,
to
once you
speak.
see what we're proposing, there's not a lot of room there anymore, so.
Gotcha.
It's
You've
a big
got-
intersection.
You're gonna, is it gonna be pretty close to the apartments?
Yes,
You
it will be
bringing
very
it
close
in?
to the apartment. There's dedicated lanes for every movement,
And then you've got to go into CVS in that front.
correct. We don't affect, we actually kept it from affecting their parking, so,
Good.
All right, and then we've got a lot of room over on the other
Centennial.
corner.
yes.
All right, so nothing in stormwater. Anybody have anything under parks?
The big thing I would highlight there is a couple of weeks ago, we held the public meeting in the training room, very well attended. And based on a lot of that feedback, we're gonna bring back to the board a final concept for you guys to bless at a future board meeting here,
Okay.
hopefully within the next few months.
Awesome. Mark, you have something?
I think that's actually going on a work session in March. I think it's already scheduled, so.
It is.
All right,
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so move.
Margaret,
Second,
all in favor, say
Aye.
aye.
You got us out of here before 5.
you did really
Keep going,
well.
Brandy.
Cool.
Well, Brandy.